Hey guys, my name is Loveless and we are here with Mollitudo. At least that's what I think it's spelled like. Not too sure exactly, but that's what we gonna call it. That's the closest pronunciation that I found for it. But yeah, if you like chapter one, it's only going to get worse. It's gonna hurt more. So if you're ready for pain, or if you're in the right mindset to handle some pain, then you can continue on listening. Or just, fuck me because, rebellion and being stubborn. So if you hurt yourself because you watched this video when you weren't prepared, do not come at me in the comments. Please don't do that. But you might anyway, so it's who am I to talk? Okay, so let's get straight into it. Say cheese, Izuku, Vex said, waving his phone in front of Izuku. He snarled, not caring about the camera flash. What are you doing? He said, trying to channel Kacchan's mannerism. If he acts like Kacchan, maybe he can stay brave despite the churning in his stomach. Vex, true to his word, had not done anything ever since the ominous threat. Izuku had watched him fiddle with his phone. Sending a present. It's so cute how you call him Kacchan. Are you two very close? He hummed. Izuku flinched. You're sending messages? He asked, trying to ignore the part about Kacchan. If he talked about Kacchan, he might get interested. He didn't want Kacchan to get captured alongside him. Why are you doing this? If it's because you're a fan, we can talk about this. Oh, Izuku, I may seem crazy, but I'm not stupid, Vex said, fingers still flying across the screen. Okay, now that's done, he said, placing the phone down. Do you want to eat something? He stalked forward, stroking Izuku's hair. What? Eat! I haven't fed you anything since. Vex looked at his watch and continued. Yesterday, you must be starving. His hand buried into his hair when Izuku tried to move his head away. Eat? This means freed hands. Okay. Izuku agreed quickly, wanting Vex's hands out of his hair. That's a good boy, Vex said. Standing up and out of sight, behind Izuku's stomach churned again as the skin crawled with this sentiment. Despite his bravado, he was terrified. He didn't know what Vex was planning to do, and he didn't know if his teachers knew where he was. Even he didn't know what happened to him. What if he never got out? Thanks for the wait! Gloved hands appeared first, waving packets in front of him. As Vex looked down at Izuku, he bent down, and Izuku's head spun. As he tilted forward, the table raised 180 degrees, allowing Izuku's legs to face the ground. Izuku groaned as the blood flowed through his legs properly. He didn't realize how numb they were. How long had he been strapped down to this table? Here, drink up, Vex said, pushing the straw to his mouth. Izuku looked at Vex. Can you free my hands first? He pleaded. I want to use my hands to eat. Vex only smiled, using his hand to push the straw, poking Izuku's lips. Heart dropping in despair, Izuku kept his lips pursed even as his stomach churned again. Drink this, Izuku, Vex said, smile curving even more as his eyes narrowed. When Izuku didn't move, his smile dropped. No food for you then, he murmured, moving the packet away, throwing it to the ground. Izuku stubbornly stayed quiet. Water? Vex asked, raising a bottle with another straw. Izuku only stared. Free me, please, Izuku said in reply. Vex snarled, throwing the water to the ground too. Fine, then suffer. You regret it later, he said, turning and walking out and closing the door behind him, leaving Izuku alone in the room. Izuku stared at the door, mind going blank. He didn't know what to do in this situation. What would All Might do? He thought, shivering. What would Kacchan do? What if no one found me? Vex doesn't seem to want to release me at all. How long has it been? He licked his lips. It didn't seem too dry, even though his mouth was starting to feel the effects of not drinking water. A day? What if I died here? Izuku's chest had tightened as he took a deep breath and exhaled. He tried the bonds again, then took another deep breath. His eyes watered. Mom. He closed his eyes, trying to calm himself. He felt so tired. He'd been trying to ignore his body pains, but now he was all alone, leaning against the heavy glass. He felt exhausted, thirsty. He drifted. Before long, he jolted awake by the slamming of a door. Izuku looked up blearily as Vex walked back in, dragging a metal tray alongside him. "Probably really thirsty and hungry now, aren't you?" Vex asked, standing in front of him, crossing his arms. Izuku's stomach, despite his silence, growled. Vex smiled with satisfaction as he held out another packet and water. "So, you want to try surviving for once?" Vex said, waving the food. "Or do you want to die due to your stubbornness? How are you going to explain yourself to Kachan?" "Don't say his name like that." "And your mom." In addition, as he knew Izuku hated it, his hair was ruffled again. A knowing smile on Vex's face. "If you're a good boy and listen to me, maybe in the future I'll raise your hands." "Shut up," Izuku croaked. "I'll eat." "Good boy," Vex cooed, pushing a straw in the water, sloshing it in between his lips. Izuku's face flushed with humiliation as he tentatively sucked up the water. The water felt heavenly on his dry mouth and throat. And despite his embarrassment, he gulped down as much as he could. Vex patted his head after he finished the water. Izuku wrenched his head to the side to avoid the pat. Vex ignored that fact, raising the food packet. Next. "If you behave, I might feed you solid food," Vex said. He stroked Izuku's green curls again, a creepy smile on his face. Izuku's face shuddered as he struggled to keep blank. Vex watched silently as Izuku drank the liquid food as fast as he could. When Izuku swallowed everything, Vex happily threw the empty packets away. "Now I can start," Vex said. Izuku's skin crawled. "What exactly is your quirk?" he said hesitatively, hoping Vex would reply this time. "Since you nicely behaved just now," Vex hummed, "my quirk is the ability to stop someone from using their quirk, such that when they try, they experience excruciating pain. Sounds like a good quirk, doesn't it? But I can only stop one person at a time." Izuku then probed. "That sounds like an amazing quirk. Does it ever fade off?" Vex looked at him and laughed. "I know what you're thinking of, but I'll amuse you this one time." He turned and picked up a knife, pointing upwards towards the edge. "My quirk lasts as long as I want it, believe it or not." Izuku looked at the knife, taking a shallow breath as Vex placed the knife on his chest. Vex's eyes gleamed as he pressed the knife even harder. His aura changed the minute he had the knife in his hand. "Say, Izuku, as I was asking a while ago, how much pain can you actually endure?" Izuku just stayed silent. "Don't disappoint me, Izuku, or I'd have to kill you out of boredom. Would be a pity after all the time I spent on you," Vex said, and the knife flashed as it moved downwards. "What do you mean you can't fucking track his phone?" Kachan snapped at Ozawa, who was currently with Detective Tsukachi and All Might. All Might looked wrecked. Face managed to look even more gaunt than his usual skeleton figure. Aizawa ran a palm down his face as he rubbed his eyes. "Whoever has Midoriya must have a signal blocker. We can't find his location unless his phone's GPS is turned on. The only thing that we have to work on now is the security footage. And these messages," All Might added, hands shaking as he continued to look at the photo. "This confirms that Midoriya must have been kidnapped," Tsukachi said, placing the laptop down. "Thank you for the information, Bakugo, but there's nothing else you can do now." "Fuck you! Let me help! Let us help investigate." "Midoriya has helped us before. I want to help too." Katsuki's voice mixed in with Todoroki and Kirishima's voices as they explained the same thing, while Yutaraka and Ida nodded firmly at the side. Aizawa just looked tired, as if he expected this. "No." "Why the hell not? I'm the point of contact now anyway, right?" Katsuki growled, pointing at the phone in All Might's hand. "And since we're Midoriya's friend, we might know where he'll go better than his teachers." Ida waved his hands incessantly, emphasizing his point. "You shouldn't stop us from helping, even if you mean well. You can't keep us all cooped up," Yutaraka said, leaning forward angrily. Aizawa sighed deeply. "As All Might said, Aizawa sighed deeply as All Might said, I think they make a good point, Aizawa. If you kids are going to help, be in pairs at all time, best in a group, understand? Aizawa said, pointing at them. I don't want any more disappearances. Fucking finally, Katsuki said, grabbing his phone back from All Might. I'll work with these extras for now. He looked at his phone. Nothing. All Might asked, Are you going to send a message, young Bakugo? Katsuki paused. Yes. All Might said slowly, There's a chance he might stop replying. Fucking gotta try anyway, right? What do you want with Deku? Why are you doing this? You, 1400. Everyone waited silently with bated breath. When no reply came, Yutaraka slumped her shoulders. Detective, Todoroki began. Did you find Midoriya's last seen place? Takachi nodded, angling the laptop towards them as a video showed on the screen. This is Midoriya's last scene. He reached the grocery store at approximately 12:45 on Saturday. He pressed the key to wind forward. Around 2 p.m., he exited and walked back. The video showed Deku exiting the store, turning right past a bakery. Did you guys find where the part he got taken, or what? Katsuki said. All Might nodded. We went to the place ourselves. There were no signs of a struggle, and we found the grocery bags young Midoriya threw aside. Tsukachi changed to a new window. In the video, Deku was talking to a man who was masked and hooded. Deku seemed to flinch as the man leaned in, tapping Deku on the arm. The man tried to grab him, and Deku's body rippled with green lightning as a sign of his quirk activating, only to fall over as he seemed to convulse on the ground. The man took the chance to punch Deku in the head repeatedly until he stopped moving. Katsuki watched angrily as the man hauled Deku off camera. Kirishima placed a hand slightly on his shoulder. Yutaraka had her hand over her mouth as she watched the video. Deku! Todoroki was silent, his side radiating cold as he clenched his fists. This is where we lost him. The man seemed to be avoiding the cameras. We don't know if he kidnapped him intentionally or not, Tsukachi said. Fucker! Katsuki cursed. Katsuki stood up, Kirishima echoing the movements immediately. I'm going there myself. Aizawa sighed. Bakugo. Todoroki also stood up. I'm going too. Ida and Yutaraka followed suit. There's 5 of us. We need to visit Midoriya's mom too. We're worried for her, Ida said. All Might looked at Aizawa, who had his hands in his face. I'll accompany them, Aizawa. Okay, but remember what I said. Aizawa finally sighed. I don't need these extras following my ass. Katsuki cursed, already walking towards the door. Bakugo, you know we can't do that. Kirishima, knowing Katsuki well, he'd already been moving as he was walking in step with him. Voice soothing. Besides, you said you'll work with us. Aizawa-sensei said we need to stick together, Ida said, following right behind with Yutaraka and Todoroki. Shut the fuck up! Katsuki yelled back, but did not argue otherwise, as they walked out of the dorms. All Might said, Young Bakugo, you do know that we might not find anything there. The group walked in silence. Katsuki's mouth twitched in reply, but he kept quiet, pondering. Katsuki stayed silent, not replying even when they reached the station. They boarded the train in silence. I know that, Katsuki said, calm for once. I just want to see. Todoroki looked at Katsuki before he said, Did you get a reply at all? Katsuki clicked his tongue, looking at his phone. My phone has vibrations. He pressed the button. I'll turn on the sound. We'll know if that bastard replies. He pocketed the phone angrily. Why do you think they wanted Midoriya? Kirishima asked hesitatively, hands tucked into his pockets nervously. There must have been a reason, right? If they did want Deku for ransom, they would have already requested by now. Yutaraka said, her hands clenching the handle of the train tightly. She looked down, face looking emotionally exhausted. Which means it isn't. Either the guy caught Midoriya because he was at the wrong place at the wrong time, or, Todoroki mumbled, looking worried, or it was premeditated. The group shuddered at the thought of a premeditated kidnapping. Todoroki and Yutaraka looked up at All Might when his large hands landed gently in their hair. Everything will be okay. Young Uraraka, young Todoroki, he said, smiling, ruffling their hair. We will find him. Before they knew it, they had reached the station. They got off silently. Katsuki picked up the pace, walking towards the direction he knew Deku's house was at. Where are you going, Bakugo? Kirishima asked, jogging to catch up. We're going to Auntie's place first, Katsuki replied. The group walked, and before they knew it, reached the apartment complex. All Might gestured for them to wait as he got them access. Todoroki looked intrigued as he said, You have access to Midoriya's mother's house? He looked as if he got a revelation. All Might just laughed as they got into the elevator. Well, Todoroki just squinted. Stop it, fucking half and half. All Might isn't his shitty dad. Katsuki snapped, remembering the question Todoroki had asked during the sports festival. He snickered internally as he watched the rest of them take a spit take, including All Might. His deadbeat dad is somewhere overseas. Young Todoroki, All Might said, flustered. I'm not... It does make sense if you think about it, Uraraka said after she stopped sputtering, a hand on her chin. You two do seem quite close, and you two always have something to talk about in private for some reason. Ida gasped. Oh my, you shouldn't lie to your students like this. That's not what a teacher should do. He waved his hands wildly, and Kirishima shushed him as his voice got extra loud in his righteous anger. Despite himself, Katsuki barked a laugh. I said his dad's overseas, you extras. He found himself amused. What a bunch of idiots. Kirishima full-on laughed as he managed to get Ida to quiet down. That makes so much sense, bro. Todoroki just looked like he was concentrating. Does this mean that you're courting Midoriya's mom? Kirishima laughed harder, while All Might choked. I mean, Deku would be really happy to have All Might as a dad, Uraraka chuckled, and said before her face fell at the mention of Deku. Kirishima stopped laughing as he looked concernedly at Uraraka. Ida, too, glancing at Uraraka with concern. She smiled and reassured. It's okay. I just miss him. Me too, Uraraka, Kirishima said, patting her shoulder. Me too. Katsuki's mood fell too, as he felt anger at the mention of Deku. He stomped out just as the elevator reached, walking to a familiar door. His hand hovered at the door. He almost felt awkward to knock. After all, he hasn't been at Deku's house since forever. Would Auntie even welcome him? Does she know everything that he did to Deku? Ida, being impatient, walked forward himself, knocked, unaware of Katsuki's inner battle. Izuku? Midoriya Inko's voice sounded as if she tore the door open. She looked like as she got up and ran, and there were dark circles around her eyes. Her face dropped a little when she saw them, but she still smiled. Hello, you must be Izuku's friends, she said softly, standing back. Oh, All Might, you're here too, she mentioned as All Might bowed his head in greeting. Her eyes landed on Katsuki. Katsuki! She said, her eyes tearing a little. It's been so long. Hello, Auntie, Katsuki said gruffly, eyes averted. Come in, everyone, come in, she said, leaning back as she gestured inside. They walked in, all bowing to Inko as they walked past her. Katsuki looked at the plate with Deku's name and immediately looked away, not wanting to look. They entered the house awkwardly, hovering in the living room. Sit, make yourself comfortable, patting to the kitchen. Ah, Miss Midoriya, you don't have to do that, All Might called out, walking after her. We just wanted to check on you, Auntie, Uraraka said, as also following into the kitchen. Inko just gestured them to sit down as she prepared tea. She walked out, placing the tea down as she too sat down. She looked at them, smiling wetly. You guys must be Izuku's friends. Ida nodded, saying, We're worried for you, just as we are for Midoriya. Kirishima said, I'm sorry for meeting in these circumstances, Auntie. They all bowed to her. Inko just smiled and said, No, I'm just glad Izuku has such good friends, she sniffled. She just looked at Katsuki, who had been quiet the entire time. Katsuki? Katsuki just clicked his tongue as he looked intensely at the table. Sorry, he muttered. He did not even know if he deserved to be here. He jumped when he felt an arm around him. Oh, Katsuki, Izuku told me everything. He also told me how you apologized, she said, leaning back and looking at Katsuki, who was awkwardly looked somewhere besides Inko. It's okay, Katsuki. I'm glad you came here. Katsuki just sat rigidly as he felt everyone avert their eyes, knowing Katsuki would not want them to look. Deku will be okay, Auntie, he said, in reply, crossing his arms when Inko let them go. Kirishima, knowing Katsuki well, just nudged Ida, who was beside him, and said loudly, "We all miss Midoriya, man. We're all volunteering to help. And we're sure he'll be found soon." Ida nodded too as he said, "We should introduce ourselves." They all did, and Inko sat back down, smiling and wiping her eyes. "Thank you so much for coming here. I appreciate it." She then paused and added, "Would you like to see Izuku's baby photos?" Yudarako squealed and said, "Oh my gosh, yes, please." That was how time passed, as Inko showed them baby albums after albums, and they spoke about Deku. Katsuki found himself yelling a few times when his own baby photos came out, as he found himself trying to not explode Todoroki when he said he looked like an ugly baby. Even though they had planned to see Deku's last scene, they found themselves sitting in Deku's house until late evening, where she invited them to stay for dinner. After dinner, Katsuki just sat on the sofa yet again when something pinged. He jolted, hands snapped to his phone. Everyone halted, and Inko just stared curiously at them. "What's wrong?" All Might, who was standing behind Inko, shook his head as he said immediately, "Okay, kids, time to go back to the dorms." Everyone seemed to pick up on All Might's message as they all stood. "Sorry, Auntie. Looks like that's curfew notification," Kirishima said, smiling as everyone gathered to the door. Inko just bit her lip. "Okay. Are you sure nothing's wrong?" She stared at Katsuki as she asked. "Everything's fine, Auntie," Katsuki said firmly. They walked to the door. As soon as the elevator closed behind them, All Might looked at Katsuki, who nodded. "It's from Deku's phone," he said. "Don't open it until we get back to the dorm," All Might said. "I also didn't want Midoriya to see that. She wouldn't be able to handle it." They all nodded solemnly. They decided to skip the crime scene, deciding to view the message was more important. When they reached the dorm, Aizawa was already waiting for them. He held out a hand for Katsuki's phone. Katsuki snapped, "I'll open it." Aizawa said, "Honestly, if I could, I would ensure you kids don't see anything either." "That's the stupidest thing I've heard you say," Katsuki said as everyone started protesting. "I can handle this." Aizawa frowned as he said, "You guys are still kids. We are heroes in training, Sensei." Todoroki said, hands clenching, as Yudarako nodded fiercely beside him. Aizawa ushered them in as he said honestly, "I only allowed this because the kidnapper appears to only reply to you. I asked him myself, but didn't get a reply." And Katsuki jolted. "Why just me?" "It might be because the kidnapper doesn't want to reply to teachers," Aizawa said, as they sat down. Katsuki's heart beat faster as they looked at his phone. He unlocked it and was sure enough the conversation page. "Shitty Nerd has sent an attachment. Shitty Nerd, 2030. Katsuki's hand hovered at the attached file, but another ping came in. Everyone leaned forward to see another message. "Shitty Nerd has sent an attachment. It is started. Shitty Nerd, 2145. Katsuki clicked on the first attachment, only to be seen with a metal tray filled with medical supplies, with Deku in the background. The table had been elevated, and Deku's shirt had been torn, a knife gleaming in the corner of the picture. Yudaraka said, "No, don't tell me." Also, morbidly, Katsuki went to the next picture, and his breath exited him in a whoosh. Aizawa took one glance at the picture and cursed, typing on his phone. Katsuki could only stare at the picture where Deku had his eyes closed, face pinched. His torso was completely red, where red lines run down his chest. A variety of cuts were on him, some deep, some superficial. The rest had recoiled in shock upon seeing it. They all looked sick. Katsuki's fingers moved on their own accord to reply. "Fuck you! What's your fucking motive? Don't you think he looks good, scrunched up in pain? Just like that time?" Shitty Nerd, 2156. "Fucking sicko. You, 2156. Teehee, Kachan, smiley face. Shitty Nerd, 2156. "Don't call me that, you fucker. You, 2156. "Were you texting him?" Aizawa asked, hand snatching the phone away. Katsuki looked up as he protested. "Don't aggravate them unless you don't know. Don't aggravate them unnecessarily. You don't know what it would do to Midoriya," Aizawa said, frowning. "Fucking shitty," Katsuki snapped, hands clenched angrily. "What's wrong with him? Why?" He stopped suddenly, and everyone turned to look at him. He said that he liked to see Deku scrunched up in pain, just like that time, Katsuki muttered, while everyone just looked even more disturbed. Todoroki said, "It sounds like they know Midoriya well. That time? Son of a bitch. It must be the sports festival. It's the only public thing," Katsuki concluded angrily, his fingers drumming on his lap. "Either that, or it's the blood-sucking bitch. But since the cameras already showed the kidnapper, and it looked like a male build," Todoroki continued, "this means that it had to have been premeditated. The kidnapper knew who Midoriya was." Aizawa was already on his phone, and they heard him say, "I need to know anyone who's been in contact with Midoriya recently. Anyone outside of school." He stood up, already leaving the dorm. All Might looked at them, smiling tightly. "Stay here. I promise I'll relay any information to you kids." He stood up, also following after Aizawa. "It can't be that fucking hard to find someone that causes convulsions," Yudaraka whispered, her eyes trained to the teacher. His quirk seemed really specific. Katsuki looked at his phone, at the picture still blown up on his screen. "Don't fucking die before we find you, shitty nerd." Oh my god. I can't. This chapter. And it's just the beginning. It has started. It has started. Oh my god. My poor baby. PB boy. No. No. Okay, I'm done freaking out. So, if you want to know more on what's going on or what will happen, you know what to do. Because I'm not fixing to say it every single time. Bye.